it would probably help if I turned myself on into the stream and you guys could see me. Um, so thank you so much again for coming along and following the show, guys. I'm always very appreciative of everybody who takes the time out of their evening to join me and have a wonderful conversation. So let's get all the particular information out of the way, guys. So if this is your first time watching the show this evening, thank you so much. Let me just give you a few of our locations where you can check us out if you're checking us out for the first time. Depending on what channel you are, let's start with YouTube's, and that's the one I really like to push forward most of the time because I love YouTube. So check us out on our YouTube channel, guys, at www.youtube.com/, the letter C, / made from scratch broadcast on YouTube. Do us a favor if you're watching there, drop it down in the comments, and then hit the like and subscribe button. We are always happy to build our viewership there. It is something that we really push for. It gives us a lot of ways to get creative on our channel and do so much more. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much, guys. Hit the notification bell as well. It'll let you know whenever we do schedule new live videos, whenever we are live like we are now. So you should have got a notification that we're live. And of course, whenever we drop new content on the channel. So thank you for checking us out on YouTube, as always. And of course, if you're watching on any other social media platform, we are streaming live at MFSB Live. Kind of made it a little bit easier so you don't have to say the whole name. So if you're checking us out, you can see us on Instagram right now. We are at MFSB Live on Instagram. Instagram's our own little, when I say our own little intimate time, just me and you and whoever's watching. No guests, just of course, just me unfiltered having a conversation. So if you're watching on Instagram, thank you so much. Follow us. We always follow back on Instagram. And of course, we're streaming live on Twitter via Periscope at MFSB Live. You can also check us out on our YouTube page at MFSB Live. Do us a favor, hit the like button there. Of course, again, it'll do the same things it does as YouTube. It'll send you notifications whenever we do schedule new lives or whenever we are live, as we are right now. So if you're watching on Facebook, thank you so much. And of course, we're streaming live on LinkedIn, guys. So if you're following on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's a little bit different. You have to follow along on my profile page. So if you're not connected with me, please send me an invitation to connect. I'm always open to meeting new people and, of course, just having conversations with everybody. So thank you so much. If you're watching on LinkedIn, I do appreciate it always. So we already have two people watching. Miss Beth Crosby. Hey, Beth, it's been a while. Hope you're doing good watching on us on YouTube. And of course, Mr. Brian Schulman, always a gentleman, watching on Facebook. So thanks both of you guys. Awesome. So let's get started with this evening's guest. So normally she is into talking about a lot of the things that she does on social media and a lot of the other things that she creates. And she has, she talks about sales strategy, sales systems. She does it all. Very talented, very skilled, very personable. I mean, a lot of things. But tonight we're going to change and flip the book and the script a little bit. We're going to talk about something different. So guys, please help me welcome to the show this evening's guest, the wonderful, talented Miss Violet Rainwater. How are you doing, Violet?
I'm wonderful. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
I'm thrilled to have you here. So let me start first of all by saying the reason I reached out to you in the first place, I was watching you on my mentor show, Mr. Russ Johns. He had you on the Pirate Broadcast, and you
That's
were
right.
like, gosh, you were smiling. I mean, you were everything that you were talking about. I was like, man, she's a whole bunch of fun. I could just tell. I go, look at the way
A
she
whole
talks.
bunch of fun. I've
Yes,
been
I mean,
called worse. I've been called worse,
yeah.
my friend.
But you
I'll
could
take
just
it.
tell. Yeah, so there's this different stigma about you, and I said, okay, um, I have to reach out and have you on the show. Um, and of course, I mean, you could have been talking about balloons that day. It would have been fun. Popcorn, whatever it was. It's just, I know you were talking about sales and strategy and all this other stuff, but um, the way that you talk about it and the way that you were really passionate and sharing all that stuff, I said, I, I just think that's who she is. whether she was talking about that or she was talking just about life in general. So when we had our conversation, that was one of the interesting things that we talked about. And you said, you know what? I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about something different. And I said, ooh, let's do this. So I said, you're on the perfect show to do this because I don't follow protocol for just about nothing and nobody. So um, I do what I want, I say what I want, and I bring on here whoever I want. And this is why I said there's no set course. We don't have to talk about business tips or strategies. There's other
Thank
shows for
you.
that. Yes, there's other shows for that,
It's after
and
hours. I don't
it's
talk
after.
about that.
That's right. So we're going to talk about that. That's why I always tell everybody that comes on here, I don't want to know the person that's working at 8 to 5. I want to know the person after 5 o'clock until 8 in the morning the next day. That's who I want to talk about because that's the person who I am really always interested in. Because again, you get to find out their passions, what they love, their lives, family, all these other wonderful things that really are the makeup of who we are as people,
Yeah.
not just our jobs and everything else.
Not just
So
what we do for a living.
exactly. Exactly right. I mean, that's the whole thing is when you learn about somebody, when you go to all these quote unquote or before COVID-19, of course, any kind of after hour social meetings or anything like this, it was not always just about the work. It was always about talking about, tell me a little bit more about yourself and what some of these other things. I get to learn so many different things about people that it's so much fun digging into everybody's passions and what they really want to do. I mean, I learned one of my good friends, sweet. I mean, one of the sweetest people I know, and she helps children's authors. She shared that she wants to learn how to drift, and I said, "Really?" I said, "I don't see you as a person who wants to get behind a car and learn how to drive dangerously." She's like, "Yeah, I want to learn how to drift." So you get to learn these things about
That's
people.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
exactly.
Yeah.
So shout
Yeah.
out to Wendy Gahulia. Thank you so much. You're awesome just because you are. And this is why I say I have to reach out to people and I want to know the personal side, the things that really, the other passions, because I think even though you have a work passion, I think sometimes we always have other passions that we want to talk about. We share like so. Some people, it's I don't know, it's racing bikes or it's. I mean, I've learned, like I said, there's so many things. People writing books or movies or doing their own things on the side. So let's dig into a little bit more about Violet and what you wanted to talk about and the spiritual aspect of what you like to share because again that's a whole nother different aspect of who you are as a person and what you want to bring out to the world. So let's get into that. Tell us a
Awesome.
little bit
Well,
more about that.
thank you. Thank you so much. And I wanted to start by just sharing a little bit about my journey in figuring this out because I think the journey, speaks for itself. It'll make a lot more sense and there'll be a lot more juiciness to it if you understood the journey. But I like to say that my journey really began, when my family and I immigrated to the United States in 1978 from Russia. And if you know what was going on at that time between our two countries, or you might be a little young, I don't know. I think everyone's my age now. And then they're like, no, I'm 24. Oh, okay.
Oh, right.
So, it was really a rough time. And just like so many immigrants, I went through a lot of challenges and I saw a lot of struggle. And I began dreaming early on of just finding a different way, helping my parents move from struggle to success because success was all around me. I went to a private school of very wealthy people. And so it was very evident it was me and it was them. And I wanted to be like them. And I wanted my family to have the things that their family, I wanted to be the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
That was what I watched. That's how I learned English. And so that's really where the passion began. It, just like so many stories, it began in the struggle. And
Mhm.
what I learned, from having immigrant parents was a strong work ethic. So, when I got
Hmm.
into the workplace, I had no problem working 60, 70 hours a week, but I was always very curious into tapping into hacks for productivity, if you will. Like I
Mhm.
was realizing that, yeah, anybody could work 70 hours a week, but for how long? You know, how
Exactly.
long can you continue running on empty and, you know, literally breaking my back? And so I came across a branch of knowledge because I wasn't satisfied with what I got. You know, I'm have my bachelor's, I have my master's, and even in those educational environments, it wasn't feeding me. Something wasn't connecting. Like there was something greater going on. And so I'm an avid reader, and I just started reading really early on. In fact, my first book that was given to me in the personal development, self-actualization space, if you will, was Dr. Robert Anthony, The Ultimate Secrets of Total Self-Confidence. And that book blew my mind. And that was really the beginning for me, just starting on this path of personal development and understanding how does one get from point A to point B? What does it take? You know, and not just intellectually, because intellectually I understood what it took, but there was something else. There was something else that was going on with successful people as I was studying them. There was an energy to them. There was a vibe to them. And it was a vibe that I became fascinated with. I just began, you know, even when I was in grade school and high school, like I always had a girl crush. Like I was always super drawn to the really popular and pretty girl because I wanted to study her. So at that point, I wanted to be like her. But this study of human behavior, it really paid off for me in business. I think I didn't have a lot of friends because I was so intense. You know, I was just like staring and, you know, not and taking notes. And like now the subject has put her knee up to, you know, like I was just a total nerd in that sense. But what I eventually opened up, which that's more on the vibrational side of things, on the energetic side of things, and what people spiritual side of things. And, you know, I tried to bring this into the workplace 15 years ago. I tried to bridge the gap between business and spirituality because I was a top producer and I wanted to share my secrets, but it felt like they weren't ready. Like nobody wanted, like they thought it was fascinating, but nobody really wanted to, especially in the corporate level, you know, bring someone in that was going to be talking about this woo-woo kind of stuff. And the woo-woo kind of stuff turned out to be neuroscience. The woo-woo kind of stuff turned out to be very black and white and not woo-woo at all.
Right.
And so when it comes to, you know, what is spirituality and what is spiritual development, what I've learned is that it's all about healing. And that is the greatest journey that we all came to do, is to heal the things that hold us down. And in doing so, step into our own so we can show up authentically. And then, and only then, can we share our gifts. And I want to know, like I told you, why are people not talking about this? Why are managers not talking about this? Why are leaders not talking about this? I never heard healing once. Nobody ever asked me, you know, my mental state when I was working 70 hours a week. Nobody asked me, you know, if it was fear that was driving me or if it was passion that was driving me. And so I think it's really important that we start having these conversations because this is the future. The workplace of the future, as I'm being shown, is a complete different environment. And that's why this is all happening. We are now stepping into a new age, and it's, you know, new tools, new resources, new strategy. The old will not work. And so the sooner we open ourselves up to taking a look at these new subjects and start being open to new business practices that incorporate more of a holistic approach to business development, I think that's going to be super helpful in helping people thrive, because what the new workplace is about, it's all about us thriving. We're done struggling, friend. That's the good news. But we have got to transition and learn these modalities and heal. And that's a journey. That's a hero's journey. That does not happen overnight.
Oh, no. And here's the wonderful part about this. You've been preparing for this for a while. So,
oh, yes. Since the day I landed in this country.
So people who have been doing this for a while and are now, who used to be looked at, whoa, she's one of those hippie sort of, people like, oh, watch what you say. She's going to, whatever it is. Those type of people now are the ones that are now the go-tos. These are the people who go, let
Yep.
me ask you about this. You know a lot about this. You know about spiritual healing. You know about, you know, neuroplasticity. You know
Energetic
about,
alignment.
yes, you know, yeah, exactly, right. You know a lot about these things. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? Now their ears start to perk up, and it's very interesting because again, it took a pandemic to actually open a lot of people's minds to what really can be put into the workplace. Um, that's why I said people want to know the good and you want to know the silver lining. These are the silver linings. These are the things you needed to be talking about, looking at. Now your eyes are open to it. Now they're, hey,
Yep.
let's really care about our teams now. People are stuck at home. Let's check on their quote unquote
Mental.
their mental health. Yes,
Yeah.
let's check and see they're doing these things right. As before, it was just, hey, are you okay? Or maybe every now and
Have
then you
you
got
done
to
that
pass what
report?
kind of
Did you get done
yeah,
with all your
yeah.
how come you're
Right.
not at your quota?
Exactly. And now hey, how are you doing? What's everything
Yes,
doing at home? So it took a pandemic for us to open our eyes and be a little bit more receptive to these kind of things. And hopefully people are taking it by the horns and say, you know what, the people who are kind of like I said, who've been ready for this for years, they're the ones say,
yep,
hey, let me help set up the teams to get these things in place. Let me help.
yep,
These are the people that, oh, okay, man, look at it. This person's the leader. They're stepping up. They're doing. This is what I've been prepared for. This is and
exactly.
these are wonderful things to be putting into the workplace because again, I talked to a lady. That's what she does for a living now. Is reaching out to teams, finding out their states, getting on calls, and talking to people about mental health and their wellness and how is everything going at home and all of these things. And I go, interesting. It's a whole new world now,
It
and
is.
and
And
it,
I
and
think
it,
it's also important to provide tools and modalities. Yes, we have to start by having these more difficult conversations. But do you know what happens in difficult conversations? It drives connection because
mm-hmm.
they're more intimate. The new world
Oh
is not
yes,
about these shallow relationships. It's about depth. The deeper we can go with our clients, with our colleagues, with our friends, with our spouses, with our children, the more rewarding it's going to be, right? And so, in order to go deep, though, there has to be a certain level of fullness within
yeah.
us. We cannot go deep if we are terrified. Here's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I really believe Maslow's work was
Mm.
specifically written for the
Heading
time we
for
are in right now. I don't think you'll meet anyone more excited about Maslow. I even have a T-shirt with his face that my clients made because I'm such a big fan. But Maslow, in his hierarchy of needs, is exactly
yeah,
what he was talking about. And so we need to really go deeper and give people the tools to help them fill up, give them the
yes.
tools to help them ground, to help
Oh
them
my
find
gosh,
their
yes.
peace, to help them find their calm. They have to understand why, too. They have to understand how their nervous system is connected to their results. Like, have you ever heard
Yes.
anyone say that? Oh, you want to drive results? Oh, we really need to nurture and strengthen your nervous system. But these are the very things we're going to be saying 15, 20, 30, 50 years from now. This is
Oh
the
yeah.
very beginning. So it's an exciting time. And as much as I got resistance my whole life, I never gave up. Like, I just knew that I came to bridge the gap between business and spirituality. And I'm just, I had to run on blind faith for a while, but
Here,
it's an exciting time to be bringing this information into the workplace.
yes, and this is a wonderful thing. Now that the door's open, kick it open. Get in there. Start sharing all of these things. And it's becoming more and more wonderful to see. I wish there was a way you could track this, but I don't think we can. But how many people have had conversations this year and they've had oh wow moments just learning about a colleague or somebody they've been working with for years, and they start learning things about them and like, oh wow, I didn't know that about you, right?
By
How many
asking
moments have
questions.
exactly, because things have opened up now and people are getting to that point where they it's being more expressed, to be open, to be honest, to say things, to be vulnerable in certain aspects, and to share who you are really as a person. I think that's cool that it's such a big thing now. And I'm kind of like you. I've been studying for the last about 2 years about just wanting to learn more about the brain, learning more about mental health, learning about um, different types of spiritual aspects of my own journey of enlightenment. So it's been wonderful. Man, I've taken on, like, you're talking about Maslow. He was one of the ones that I started reading about, and then I started reading about going into Kohlberg's. I started going into Kohlberg's theory of moral development. I started going into different directions. Just started reading more and more about. I mean, I started learning about NLP. I started learning just about anything and everything that had to do with the human mind. I was interested in.
Fascinating.
Uh, it is fascinating work.
And it's
There's
more the
so
brain. It's, you know, everyone says the mind, but it's not the mind, you know. And
mind.
if I
It's
hear
the
one more person, mindset, it's not your mindset. I like to say it's your vibe set, and that is 100% your brain, friends.
right.
It's not your mindset. Mindset is an effect, it is
Right.
not the cause.
Yes, that's not the cause, right? And it's just reading about everything about how you're learning about brainwaves. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just a whole other different subject than learning about
Right?
how we operate and how we learn in different cycles of brainwaves. I mean, they talk about how why kids are more adapted to learning because of the way that they operate at a different wavelength than we do as adults. Gosh,
Absolutely.
it is fascinating to learn all these things because again, you learn so much about. Like I said, I tell everybody I want to have a childlike mindset because they say they operate at such a lower level of brainwave that they soak in and learn so much because they don't have a lot of things that we have in our minds as adults with all these preconceived notions and filters and
Yeah, they're
all this
just a
stuff here.
sponge. They have no
Exactly.
ability. So when we're young, the way that the conscious mind works, and if you really want to understand it, there was this what was it, Dr. Thurman Fleet. He
Fleet.
had something
Yes.
called the stick person concept, which really explains the mind of a child and why,
Yes.
on a scientific level, our brains get programmed when we're little. So everything that we experience. So in my case, I experienced stress, lack, worry, struggle, that gets programmed into our brain and to our body, and that continues, right?
Mm-hmm.
From a mental perspective, what as a child, we don't have the ability to reject or accept any thought. So as an adult, if I say, you know what, you're a jerk, if you don't even think about it for a second, if you're like, I don't care what you think, bye, Felicia, that means you reject the thought. Children cannot do that.
Do
They
that.
every thought, like, oh, I'm stupid. Oh, I'm not worthy. Oh, everybody else is worth more. Okay. And then they continue operating from that false sense of, it's a false belief. In fact, this is the video that I'm putting out on Thursday. This is what's really holding people back in business. It's their foundational belief statement. It's what they believe to be true about themselves. And here's where neuroscience is so fascinating, is it's when we start nurturing and calming our nervous system through meditation, breath work, yoga, we start creating new pathways in the brain, and they're very healing for the brain. And they actually begin to change the shape of the brain. The brain starts to develop fully the way that it was supposed to, so we can tap into our full potential, so we can operate at peak levels, you know. And for me,
Mm-hmm.
it was only in the last 20 years that they know that the brain can change. Prior to 2000, they believed it was completely fixed. So we're relatively really new in our journey on neuroscience. And I'm not a neuroscientist. You know, I simply look at how the brain helps us from a driving business performance perspective, sales performance, right? And
Right.
so, yeah, these are the kind of conversations that I see leaders in the future having in every business meeting. Like, oh, let's see what your
Yes.
challenges are. Okay, so what's the story you have around this? Okay, well, what frequency is that story on? Like, how does that story make you feel? All right, so that's what you're sending out into the world, and that's why we're getting the results. So let's find a new story. Let's find a new business practice that allows you to be more in alignment with
Oh,
universal principles versus, you know,
oh,
staying in worry and we're, you know, getting on the phone when we're terrified but not making our numbers. Don't get on the phone when you're terrified. Do some self-care so you could feel good, and then get on the phone. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels. And
oh,
so
yeah.
These
Oh yeah.
universal laws, they allow us to tap into this power to really drive our efficiency and our ease. And they draw people to us that see our value and that have a budget to work with us. So it's very much connected, the spiritual world and the business world, because as spiritual beings, we are having a business experience. And we came to have this business experience, but we didn't come to do it without our spiritual resources. We've
Oh
just never
yes.
learned them. So
Oh yeah.
it's a total game changer when it comes to performance, to health, to vitality, to ease, to joy, to passion, to compassion, all those things. Yes, you could see how much I love
Yes. It is
this
such a
subject.
it's because it's such a fascinating thing to talk about and to learn and discover and actually go down the path and learn these things yourself. I mean, um, I just got through, well, I want to say about a couple of weeks ago, I got through listening through an audiobook called Switching on Your Brain by Dr. Caroline Leaf. And that's what she covers a lot about is this. She put in the scientific along with the spiritual aspect of what you learn and how, and I mean, uh, she's literally putting scientific work with Bible verses and quotes and everything else to
Oh,
go
yay.
along.
Well, they're on
Yes.
such a high frequency. That makes so
See,
sense.
so,
Anything in the Bible, you read it, you're going to start feeling better. I don't care how bummed out you are, because
so
each of those words are on a
oh
vibration.
yes, yes, and that's the wonderful thing is like she's telling people that this science has been around for years. We're just barely tapping into it. Very, like you said, with the last 20 years. I mean, neuroplasticity hasn't been that big of a thing for so long. Knowing that we can retrain the brain,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful now to know that you can,
Yes.
and if you go take the time and really go and really delve deep into your own self discovery, like what I tell everybody, their own path of enlightenment, you start learning things
I
about
love it.
yourself that you've
Yeah.
never thought about. And
Yep.
this is what it started, folks. I mean, it your journey, wherever you're at this point in life, if you don't wake up tomorrow and you're satisfied with what you're doing, guess what? Change. It's pretty simple. It's complicated, but it's simple. I tell everybody they're complicated because you make it complicated. That's why. And it's really simple to get up in the morning tomorrow and say, you know what, I'm going to change. I don't like the way I feel no more. I'm going to eat healthy. I don't like the way I feel this way. I'm going to start working out. Or if I wanted to learn new skills, I'm going to start tomorrow. I mean, the world and everything that you can do, again, is your oyster now. You can literally go back and have that mindset like a kid. You can go,
Yep. Go to
I can,
University of YouTube. Right?
two greatest,
Learn.
two greatest teachers I will tell everybody go to
Google.
Google and go to YouTube. Google tells you what direction to go. YouTube tells you how. So
Exactly.
one tells you direction, the other one tells you how to do it. So use those two tools. You'll find just about anything that you want to learn about. And if it hasn't, somebody's probably doing it right now as we speak. So um, you again, this is why I say it's such a fascinating thing to go start digging deep and wanting to learn about. And again, the science has been there for years. There's the old Jesuit monks used to say, um, hopefully I don't butcher this, but the old Jesuit monks used to say, give us a kid, and they would take it for the first 7 years, excuse me. They would say, give us a kid, and in 7 years, we'll show you the man.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
knew within those first 7 years what
Yep.
it was, everything that they took in, how they could teach them, and everything else. And then they knew
A
once
lot
that
of
was already,
nurturing, a lot of
what
love, a lot of positivity, a lot of lifting up, encouraging. Yep.
that's why kids are so amazing. That's why I say I want a kid's mindset because a kid can sit there and have a conversation with an imaginary friend, and you can't tell them it's not real.
Right?
We are the ones that tell them,
It's
"Hey,
not real.
don't do that." People are going to think you're crazy.
Well, it brings up
We,
an important point.
but
Go ahead.
and I was just going to say, and to me, that's like saying, okay, now you have to change the way you think, son or daughter or whatever it is. You can't be this way. because that's where you're at that point. You're killing a part of the mind and the creativity and whatever it is. I mean, a kid can be happy coloring with the color blue. It can be the
Exactly.
it can be the
Exactly.
happiest day in the world, coloring
Yep.
with the color blue, coloring outside the lines, whatever it is, and then we try to fit it into conformity and
Well,
tell them no,
because
that's
they're
not right.
present. They have
Yes.
this innate ability to be present, which most of us cannot. We talk about it a lot. We talk about being present. We talk about being authentic. But unless we've gone through the healing journey, unless we've been knocked down and like happens a lot as we approach 40. And not to say that it happens, it takes, I mean, I know there's amazing people in their 20s and 30s who have gone through a lot, but I find that typically if you haven't figured it out by the time you get into your 40s, it's going to come and knock you, knock you
Yes.
down. But I lost my train of thought. I lost where I was going with that. Uh, Oh, but if you have not done the healing work, you're not going to be able to be present. For many years,
Mhm.
I could not be present because I ran on anxiety. What's the problem with anxiety? You're either worried about the past or you're worried about the future. You're not present, right? And you're not even aware of it. And so again, it's really about finding modalities that allow you to start tapping into your nervous system. And I would like to add that for me, what was transformational was starting a daily meditation practice. And
Oh
before
yeah.
everybody's like, oh no, I tried, I can't. Me too, for a long, long time. But with a guided meditation practice, I use an app called Insight Timer. And I started almost 3 years ago. I started with 10 minutes a day and I just built it up and it completely rewired my brain.
Oh yeah.
I could say just in the last year and a half, for the first time in my life, which I'm 46, so 44 and a half years, I don't run on anxiety. I run on peace. But
Mm.
I have to cultivate it every day. I begin my day with peace. And if I feel myself losing it, I come back to my peace. And so it's what we can cultivate. Cultivating peace sends a new pathways in the brain, and it nurtures our nervous system by activating our parasympathetic wing. And so if anybody wants just one tool to begin your healing journey, I highly recommend looking at a guided meditation practice, even for 5 minutes in the morning.
Oh yeah. There's so much that you can take away from it. You know, and again, it's if you have somebody that can help you along the way, or at least kind of get you, like you said, guided, right? I mean, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like trying to go and start a diet on your own and go, oh, that failed. It's not going to work for me, right?
Yeah.
But then when you meet a nutritionist or a dietitian or somebody says, hey, why don't you try this? Why don't we change this? Or you go meet a fitness and wellness and fitness coach and they can walk you through it. And all of a sudden, oh, now I'm getting results, right?
Yep.
Because you had somebody there that can help you
Exactly.
along the
Like a
way. And that,
mentor.
yeah, exactly. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that people need to understand. It. It's okay when you go
Hmm.
to change these things and you want to go start a journey. Okay, cool. Reach out to somebody. Um, if you see somebody on, and this is the wonderful thing about social media, you can reach out to people. They're real. They exist. And most of the time, most of them are enough, so polite enough to even answer back and give you advice. So if
That's
somebody
right.
says, hey, I see you doing yoga every morning. I would love to learn how to do certain things, but I don't know where to begin. Reach out. I'm pretty sure somebody will tell you, awesome, look, let's start here.
Absolutely.
They'll give you tools,
Absolutely.
resources, things to get you started in the right direction. And more than likely, they'll be able to help you walk along that, get you started in the direction that you want to go. But you'll never know if you don't ask.
That's
And
right. When you
that's the whole
ask,
thing is
it is given.
that's right, right? Ask and you shall see,
And you
ask
shall
and you shall
receive.
receive, seek
Knock.
and you shall find. Yes, knock and
And it
already
will
it'll be
eventually open.
open.
Just stick with it. Keep knocking, keep
That's
seeking,
it.
keep asking.
Yes, and that's the wonderful thing about it is people, um, most of the time, out of the kindness of the heart, want to just be able to pay it forward, and they'll go,
Yep.
Awesome. Yes, I would love to help you get started down this path," and that's all it takes, just to
Yep.
get started in that first, second, third step, and before you know it, I mean, all of a sudden, oh. I know how to. Meditation helps me so much. It opens me up. It offers me clarity. It offers me all these other things, you know. But if, again, like I said, if you go try it and you don't at least go find a way to connect with somebody, that's why it's so important to reach out. It's okay to study, and I tell them it's okay to study the Bible, read and whatever, but it's also important to have fellowship. And it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
I believe in the same thing when you go out and learn and want to start changing life changes. So it's fellowship, it's accountability, it's all these other things. So, you don't have to start it and be alone. You can go out there and start asking other folks. And before you know it, again, I didn't start just learning how to live stream on my own. I did not sit down and go,
Right.
I got it figured out. Cool. I just turned on the camera, started talking. I'm a
No
professional.
way.
No way. Heck no.
No way.
It took me having to go study, learn, and ask.
Yep.
And those
Step
are the
by
three,
step.
step by step, whether or not I could. And once I did, and then actually just take action, man, you won't believe how much it can really affect and change your life. And that's what, um, if you take that approach in any aspect of your life, you're going to find out it's going to help you out. You'll be successful, whether it's in business, whether it's your personal life, whether it's your health, whether it's um, your mental health, whether any of it. I think all of it is really important to sit there and actually go, okay, let me get started. And that's why I say I'm a big believer in what you talk about and what you're saying about wanting to change your life using the mindset, not even mindset. Again, let's not use mindset, the brain. How do we start
Optimizing the brain,
the
healing the
brain in
brain.
the brain? Yes, just learning how your brain works. I
Yep.
mean,
I
that's
think that's
that's
what it is. It's just learning why you keep creating the same patterns. And I think one of the hardest things that we are asked to do on this journey called life is forgiving ourselves for the very things we had to do in order to survive, you
yes,
know? Because that's what it's all about. We're all just running around in survival mode. We're all just coping, as best as we can, especially with COVID. And so I think that, the more that we can be committed to our own light and our own peace and our own truth, the more we can really light up the world. And that's what the world needs right now. The world needs people that are lit up with their own passion, with their own, on their own healing journeys. And then that's when we can transition from a life of struggle, constant, like 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, to really stepping into our own and soaring high and thriving and enjoying life by sharing our gifts and making a great income by doing the very thing we came to do. So I think it's the most needed journey, the most, your future self will thank you. Your
right.
1 year later self, your 5 year later self. There's nothing you can do right now that is more important than begin a healing journey. And if
Yes.
you're on that healing journey, then I just want to tell you how awesome you are. And I know it's ugly and I know it's messy, but it passes. And the other side of it is so worth it, friends. It's so worth it. So just keep one day at a time, one breath at a time, one pebble at a time. You will get to the other side of the hero's journey.
Oh yes, it is. That's awesome. And I tell people all the time, you know, how's it when we ask the question of somebody, say, hey, if you could go back in time and tell yourself 10 years, if you go back in 10 years and tell yourself about where you would be in life, what you would say, right? People can come up with answers all pretty quick. Oh, man, I would tell myself, whether
Yep.
don't do this, don't marry this, or don't spend this, or don't all of these things
Don't
they'll
date
say.
him. Don't date
Yes,
him either.
right.
Oh, don't date him for sure.
Yes. So they say all these things, right? My whole thing is, why don't you ask a question now and really put thought into it? And then in 5 years, when you come back and you go, you know what? I asked myself this question. I already knew what the answer was. I started down whatever it was. Yes, you might not know everything, but at least you've asked yourself the question.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's something that where people don't even take the time to even go, you know what would be something that I would tell myself from a year from now? Um, and it's only a year, 365 days from where we're sitting at now. To what would you tell yourself a year from now? Okay, cool. Write them down. Jot them down in a journal. Right? What you think? What think you are? What your path
That's
is?
powerful.
What and see where you're going. I mean, that's we people do it all the time at the beginning of January. They always go, well, "These are my
Right.
goals for the year." Right? I mean, why? I think it's why wait. Um, you know, people will say, "I'm going to start my diet on Monday." Why wait to start it tomorrow? Wednesday to me is just as good as a Friday to go, you know what? I'm going to change today. I'm going to, whatever day it is out of the week, I'm going to change. Because here's the thing I tell everybody, it's cool that you say that. It's cool that, you know what? I'm going to start my diet on Monday. Guess what? What if you don't make it to Monday? You're not promised tomorrow. I don't know
Yeah.
anybody who, I don't know anybody who can say with 100% confidence, you know what? Cool. I don't worry about it because I got tomorrow anyway. I'm good.
Right.
Right?
It's
It
not
is.
promised.
It's not promised. So get up, change whatever it is, get started, do whatever you've been thinking about, and get it into motion, man. That's the whole thing I've taken from this whole year. For me, has just been put stuff in motion, get started, don't wait, don't hesitate. Um,
Even if you're scared, do it
scared.
anyway.
Who cares? What are you gonna do? You're gonna fail. Okay, you know what
Yeah.
the other.
That's
You know
part
what?
of the entrepreneurial journey, failing over and over and over again, and that means you're doing good. That's a
Yes,
sign that you're on track.
and that's the whole thing is. You know what the alternative is? Okay, cool. So guess what? If you try something different and it works, what happens? What if you start
Right.
becoming successful? I mean, that's to me, it's I'm not so worried about where I can end up again because again, I've already lived that life. Cool. If I go back there, oh well. But you know what? What if I do it the other way and it actually works? What if I do it the other way and I start changing and something happens in my life? I mean, to me, that's what living is all about, man. It's just taking
Yep.
that other path and going, you know what? I'm gonna try different. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try this. Because
Well,
again, I think
Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing the same way, expecting a new result. I mean, that's what most of how come why do I get the same result? Why does this keep happening? Well, you're not doing anything different. Your behavior is the same.
yes.
And I want to say, you're saying about just start. It doesn't have to be like full-fledged. Like start with a baby step. Start with a walk. Start with some hot tea. Start with a self-care ritual once a day. Just start with something little. It doesn't have to be, okay, from now on, I'm going to eat 90% no carb. It doesn't have to be that drastic. In fact, the drastic, goals, they don't work. It's the little things that we can just start changing every day in our life that changes how we show up, how we feel, and the energy, the vibration that we send out. That is going to start changing our results. It is law. It is a universal principle.
Mm,
As beneath, so above.
it is, man. What? Oh, that's such a wonderful way to put it. Gosh, and again, this is why these these subjects and these conversations to talk about these things, um, people are getting more and more comfortable and more used to having these, and this is awesome to me because again, I said I this is why I say I just hope one person hears this today and goes, you know what? Or not even hears it today. Doesn't have to hear it today. They can go back and watch the video in a week, in 2 weeks, whatever it is. But if it touches them at the right moment and they hear this and they go, you know what? I heard this woman named Violet and she was talking about this, and you know what? I want to I want to do that. I want to try it. That's what to me is why it's so important to put these conversations out there into the world because
Yeah,
you don't know when it's going to hit. I tell this to everybody, and I've had people laugh, but it was supposed to be at the right time, at the right place when I needed it.
absolutely.
What changed my life was a Matthew McConaughey video of all things. Matthew McConaughey, right? People, they think of him dazed and confused and all right, all right, all right, and the whole thing's about him. That's what they
That's
think
why
about
I
him.
like high school
Yeah,
girls.
yeah, else. That's right. That's what they think about him. But it was a conversation, and one thing that he was talking about that a friend shared that video with that set off a light bulb in me, and I needed to hear it at that moment. I remember I got it clear as day. It was a Facebook message. He sent me the video. I clicked the link. I started watching it. I started crying. I started going, okay, I got to do something. Right place, right time,
Wow.
right when I needed it.
Yep.
So thank you, Kate
Yep.
Stewart. Always, she will always be a special place in my heart because she was the one that said, out of all the days and of all the times that I needed, not knowing what to do, where I was at, lost, that video set me on a path. Here I am now.
Yep. Isn't that awesome? How one resource, one little tip, one movie, one book, one poem, one meditation can change the course of everything. I
Everything.
love that.
Yes, and that's why I say these are so important. I don't have to make an impact today. I don't have to, even if tomorrow I disappear from the earth, they're here. Somebody could find it in a year after I'm gone,
It's true.
and it makes the impact that I needed to. My job's done, and that's to me that's
Love it.
all that matters. That's why
Yeah.
I say that's why
Transcendence.
that's why I tell everybody.
Maslow
I
and
tell
transcendence. That's what he meant.
yes, it yes, exactly. So this
Yep.
is why I tell everybody else. If you're thinking about taking the chance to do that video, do it. If
Yeah.
you're thinking about the chance to share your message and what you feel will connect with somebody, do it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. Because again, you might not think it's something that's interesting or might not connect with somebody right away, but you don't know where it's supposed to be and where it's supposed to land
Yeah.
at the right time. And it
That is
gets
so true. I've been creating videos on LinkedIn for a while. And I remember there was one that it really didn't do that well, but I had a few people that were so moved by it, and when I first started creating content, I think it's pretty easy to get wrapped up in the ego and the numbers. But, as I made my transcendence, like my goal with every video is one person. If I could brighten the day of one person, help one person, light up the path for one person, then I know God is pleased and so am I. And that's it. Like, because I don't want to get caught up in the popularity contest. It's not real anyway. For me, it's about making a difference, teaching people the tools that I learned that were a light for me in my darkness. That is my greatest passion, is helping people find their light and see their light and share their light.
yeah. So sometimes people watch. They'll go to my channel and they'll watch my videos. See, none of your videos make sense. There's no kind of direct path. And I tell them, well, it's because it's not for you to understand.
Right.
It's not for you to understand. Whoever's supposed to understand it, when they're supposed to understand it, they'll get it. And that's all that matters to me. You can judge and say whatever you want. And that was the part of the problem for me early on, was getting that identity and what I really wanted to do, and just learning how to be myself and be comfortable. Um, Once I
That's a
did,
journey.
that's a journey, right? I mean,
Yes. Just be
literally, I was,
authentic. Like, it's easy. It's
and
not
I was,
easy.
yeah, and I was just, again, this is why I tell everybody that always got your hat to the back. You know why? Because this is me. This is me when I'm comfortable. This is me just being
Yeah.
myself. I don't have to. I'm not going to put on a suit and tie. I'm sorry. Um, that's just not my personality. My personality is me talking about this and talking to
Keeping it
my guest
real,
every
friend.
now. Exactly, and that's all. It's all this
I
that
get it.
I. That's all I have to share with somebody, and I tell
Yeah.
everybody, look, if you don't want to watch it, cool. That's it's pretty simple. Turn it off. Go wherever you
Yeah.
need to go. That's awesome. I'm not gonna think any different of you. I'm not gonna think anything else. I was very like you, very early, getting caught up thinking about the stupid numbers, and that's where I just said, you know what,
Exhausting.
it is to think that way, and to try to, again, I had to think back to myself and go, I don't want to be that people pleaser anymore. That's the whole
Yeah.
reason I wanted to get out from under that. I wasn't trying to do what other people were doing. And that's why I just had to start going out and do my own authentic self, and
I love it. Good for
not,
you. I love
yeah.
it.
And this is why I tell people, no other show, I promise you, go scroll through LinkedIn, or you can go through Facebook, and will ever tell anybody out there, if you wanted to use my platform, you're more than welcome to. I'll put anybody here in this chair. You can have a guest on. You can share your story. I get people started on their journeys. Nobody else is going to do that because everybody else is too worried about what I have to present. What is my thing? I tell everybody, I'm just as happy sitting back here watching two other people have a conversation as I am me having one. So the whole point and the purpose of me doing that was to take people who probably wouldn't have taken that step in the first place and offering them the opportunity to do it, and then seeing them start to open and blossom and do their own
Mm,
things and get their own messages out there. To me, that's what it really means to me to say, you know what, that's my impact. That's how I help people go out there and craft what they want to go do. And I get to see people start all of a sudden start doing their own podcast and doing all these other things. And it, I go, yes, because that means somewhere down the line, they're going to connect with somebody that they need to connect with and reach somebody. And I know that I was part of
yeah,
that small
that
little journey and
beautiful connection.
that connection. Exactly. And this is why these conversations that I tell people, hey, come on here and we'll just talk about you, whatever you want to talk about. And they go, really? Yeah. You don't have a set thing. Look, I don't have a set thing. I'm not. Again, you want structure? I can point you to the shows, really good ones that'll do structure. You can guys can go talk about tips and tricks and learning tools and all the stuff that you
Mhm.
guys want to go teach. I'm here to talk about you, what you share and what you bring and how you connect. And that's really what it's all
That's
about.
awesome. That's
And again,
awesome.
that's why
Well,
it's
thank
when you
you.
said and I was so happy that you said you wanted to do that. Um, because again, I tell people, man, you don't, when I tell you, believe me this, when I tell you this and I say, come on the show, let's talk about your life as like a guy I had on, we were talking about his journey as a marine biologist. I mean, he did sales tips and all this other stuff. And I said, well, it's cool, but let's talk about how you used to go tag sharks. I mean,
Wow. That
to
is
me
cool.
that is
I'm not
cool,
that
right?
cool. I'm
That
not that brave.
well, even for you, here's the things that I've taken out of this. First of all, where you came from, the struggles you had to come from coming from a whole other country. Um, that in itself is already part of a struggle on the journey to show how resilient you are, to show up where you are at this point along in
Right.
your life. It shows a lot
Thank
because a
you.
lot of people, again, they're still at this point where I'm in my 50s. I haven't figured out. I was born into privilege. I was born into a lot of things and still haven't figured out life. Um, and I think that really it really shows whenever I have people on who have gone through the early part of life struggles and they start realizing as adults that they don't want to stay in those same patterns. They want to get out
Yep.
of it and change the world and make. I mean, just the stories are everywhere.
Yep.
Same, I mean,
And I do believe that the more struggle that we had as children, the greater mission that we come to do on the other side of the hero's journey. So I think it's definitely worth it. And the more beat down that we were, I really believe we chose that to learn the lessons that we needed to for the soul development so that we could get
mhm.
to this, side of our lives and be able to share the wisdom that we gained with others. I mean, that's what it's all about. And in doing so, that's how we self actualize, that's how we transcend and get to the next level. So
And
it's a
that's why I said
beautiful,
I
it's a
love.
beautiful process,
Mm,
and one that I believe that all people should definitely just surrender into and lean into it just a little bit. Just lean into the struggle, because it's definitely there to teach you something. It has a lesson for you, and once you learn it, poof, it will be
right.
gone just like that.
Yes, right. And um, it doesn't have to control your future, but it is something, it is a tool to use to, like you said, get that lesson out of it, get the experiences, get the knowledge and the wisdom out of it and use it
And
going
move
forward.
on.
Yeah, exactly. And move forward.
Yes. Don't keep creating the same struggles, the same patterns. They see it everywhere. Do the work. There's nothing more important than the work.
yes. And that's in any career, any part of life, any of it. You put in the work, man, you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish as a person.
Yep.
Um, I mean, even to myself, even now, I'm amazed that I was able to do this. I mean, I've been searching for so long. I've actually have three, two older brothers and a nephew of mine who are doing their own podcast now. And I went on their show last week, and it was very emotional to hear them say, "You know what? We started doing this because we saw you doing it. Um,
Wow. Wow.
you
That's
you were
awesome.
you are an inspiration. And most of my life, I've been chasing them."
Wow.
Because they're my older brothers, and I see that the examples they've gone out and set. And I would always say, you know what, I want to be like them one day. I want to do these certain things. And to hear that, man, like I said, it became an emotional moment. I go, thank you, man. It validates the work I've been putting in, and it just shows that I'm on the right path. I need to keep
Yep.
going down this path. And um, I felt that, you know what, more invigorated after that conversation, in doing and wanting to go out and do what my heart's been telling me to do. So I'm ready to go to the next level of
Love it.
going out and sharing, yeah, creating and
Yeah.
using what all these things that people have instilled in me and have been showing me, and going out to start showing other, especially younger, the generation. I want to
Yeah.
start teaching teenagers and all these, um, what it is to go out and learn how to creative write, and because that's what's passionate for me. And I want to go use that, my talent, to do like the parable that, you God gave, excuse me, the master gave his three slaves their talents to guard over, and to use wisely while he was gone. And the one that, gosh, why am I forgetting Matthew? Ugh, it's slipping my
My
mind right
husband
now.
would know, but I
It,
don't know,
I,
friend. I can't help you.
no, 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 no. So anyway, it's just a story about the what happened was that he gives his three servants, um, quote unquote, their talents. And the first one goes out and quadruples his. So when the master comes back, he tells him, good and loyal servant, I will trust you with more now. I've given you what I did, and you've gone out and you made it more. And then the second one comes back and he doubles his. And the same sort of deal. He tells him, good and loyal servant, now I can entrust you with more, knowing that you went out and doubled what I gave you. And then the other one comes back with the same amount. He goes, look, I know how sometimes you can get angry, so I buried mine so nothing would happen to it until you came back. And here it is, just like you gave it to me, same way. And then it's when he tells him, you fool, um, you know, you were supposed to use these talents to go out and
Yeah,
create these other things, and you
that's
set
right.
on them, afraid of um,
Hiding,
hiding
hiding.
it, and losing it, and doing the whole thing about it. So that's kind of like what I say I have to do. That's what I have to go out and do, because that's what my heart's telling me at this moment is, hey, um, go out and use these talents that you have, all these connections that you made with these people. They've been teaching and instilling a lot of things in you. Go out and use them. And
Amen.
that's where I'm going next. So I'm happy and thrilled to take that next step in my journey in life. So I'm still on my path to enlightenment, but I'm I'm more thrilled than I was a year ago about where I'm going to go into the future. And I think that's where the big difference is just knowing who you are now, and knowing myself and going, cool, I'm prepared. Whatever comes my way, if
I got this.
um, I got this, right. I mean, that's the whole
Yeah.
mind. There's the word.
Vibe
See,
set. Vibe
vibe
set.
set. That's it. That's
I'm
we
gonna
got to
get you
change.
saying a new word, my friend.
We gotta get that in there. So as always, let's get the show before we get out of here. I'm going to ask you this question, and this is the guest question I ask most of my guests, and it goes like this. So, when the book is said and done on Violet Rainwater, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, and what do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for how much I was able to encourage others, regardless of where they were in their path, to give them hope when they didn't have any, to be a light when there was
Hmm.
so much darkness, and to see their when they couldn't see it. I want to be able to be remembered for all the lights that I ignited just by
Oh,
seeing their light and teaching them what I learned along my way. Because really, what else is there? What else is there? It's all about serving others, is really what it's about.
oh, I love that. I'm glad you said that. That's becoming my favorite thing to hear people say. Is that I'm enjoying serving others. Kind of opens your heart and go, wow, um, that person is very open, gracious, and knows um, what it is they want to share with the rest of the world. So I love that answer, Violet. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That's why I always ask that question because I get so many different. Sometimes it's the simple answers. Sometimes it's really open, eloquent, beautiful, and then sometimes it's just hearing those certain words, like you just said, that really say, you know what, that inspires me for tomorrow. Awesome. I love that.
Awesome. Then my job
Um,
is done, friend.
exactly. And that's what
You
I
got
tell
us
people now.
clean.
That's changing. That's changed. Hearing that word has changed my mindset of how I approach talking to others.
Yeah.
I don't like to say, how can I help you? Now it's, how can I serve you?
Mm,
I think it opens a channel a
it
lot
does.
more, and it's more endearing. Um, because I think when you hear the when you hear the word help, it's not, it's a bad thing to say, but it's like inferring that, hey, are you saying I need help? I mean, what is,
Right.
where as
Yep.
saying, how can I serve you?
Yeah. How
Saying
can
like,
I elevate? How can I advance? How can I, yep.
changing that one verb can change the whole
Yeah.
way that everything comes across. And I
NLP, baby. NLP.
NLP, yes, neuro linguistic programming, guys. So if you not have not checked that out, please um, go find a book. Go find out who John Grinder is and Richard Bandler. They were the ones that created NLP. I went to study the whole process. I went into Gestalt theory. I literally went down a whole,
Gestalt theory.
yeah,
I love
of
Gestalt
that.
theory.
Exactly, right? So when that's what I said, when I started going into the whole learning about the brain and how it works and what synapses are and what how learning the actual the cerebral cortex and learning it all. I wanted to learn everything that went into it as far as how we think cognitively, how we operate, why we get into anxiety, why we feel certain points, and what our body does and how we react. So that's why I went super deep in wanting to learn as much as I possibly could. At that point, I was like, I'm still like a sponge. So when people say, "Hey, I got something for you," ooh, give it to me. I want to learn, because all it does is just,
Childlike mind, right?
yes,
Childlike mind.
mind, and that's why I love it when people say, "I got a book for you." Ooh, please. Um, I asked them two questions. Number one, is it in audio form? Because if it is, I'm in love. I consume audiobooks faster than I can read because I have more time. So my other job affords me the opportunity to listen to audiobooks. So, man, I can soak in 4 audiobooks in a week. So that's why I tell people, please, if it's an audio form, let me know, send it to me, and I'll go get it on Audible, and boom, it's in there. Oh, my God, I've listened. Um, I'm right now listening to Brene Brown, and that was a whole recommendation that another friend gave me, and I still have 2 other ones that people have given me. So I've already have them downloaded. I'm just ready to go as soon as I'm done with this one and go into the next one because I love, love learning right now. So it has been
Awesome.
the best part of the journey. So thank you, Violet, so much. I love the answer,
Thank
and thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much for taking the time out of your busy evening to come on and have this conversation. So, guys, please do me a favor. Check out Violet if you're not connected with her on LinkedIn, and then you can go to the website down there. Um, I will actually drop it as well into the link. You can click on it after the show, guys, and then it will take you directly to her website. Connect with her. She is super awesome. And just so you know, guys, and I'm gonna pull it up here so everybody can see it just again.
Yeah, and
So,
I'm mostly on YouTube and LinkedIn,
okay, yes,
and I just started on Instagram a little bit.
So there's a website now. So it's actually a link already now in the comments. So if you go in the comments, guys, click on the link. It'll take you directly to the website, and then I'll put in your YouTube as well. Awesome. Thank you so much, Violet, for coming on the show. I do
Thank
appreciate,
you.
again, like I said, taking the time out of your busy evening to have these wonderful conversations. So I'm always grateful, again, for the whole audience. I'm grateful for the guests. And I call the guests after I have them on the show, I don't call them guests anymore. I said, you're my friends. So
yes, indeed.
I call people my friends now that come on here. And there's the YouTube link, guys. Click on it, take it straight to her channel. There you go. Click on the link. It'll take you to your videos. Connect with Violet, and I'll put her LinkedIn as well. Thank you so much, Violet, for taking the time. So, guys, you guys have a great evening. I will be back tomorrow evening, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. Tomorrow's going to be fun because it's just a me show. I don't get these very often. So it's just me talking to my audience. So awesome. I will have a good time with these because, again, I get to be a little bit more personable, and I get to share a lot of my mind and thoughts and brains with everybody. So my
vibe.
My vibe set. That's what I'm going to start calling it now. I got to remember that because my friend Brian Shulman always says, voice your vibe.
Yes. I love Brian. What's that, Brian?
It's stuck in my mind. And and every time I hear that word vibe, I go, oh, for some reason, it's just instantly goes to recognition of, oh, Brian, voice my vibe. Of course, yes. So my vibe set. So now that's going to be a permanent thing. So thank you, Violet, for giving me that. So
thank you,
everybody. You guys have a great evening, Violet. Just sit tight. Everybody else, I will be back here tomorrow, 7 o'clock. Bye-bye, everybody.